Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekar, and here are your headlines for tonight.
Remains of State Minister Sanat Nishantha lying at a private funeral parlour. Final rites to be observed on Sunday. Driver of the container involved in the accident arrested. United States express concern over the passage of the online safety bill. Says could impede investments in digital economy. 13 matters included in the special determination of the Supreme Court on the OSB have been disregarded. Do not sign the bill into law until the bill is re-examined. Parliamentarian Sumandiran's request to the Speaker. Another brawl at the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre. Duruttu Full Moon Poya Day celebrated today.
On to your top story tonight, the body of late State Minister Sanat Nishantha, who lost his life in a car accident this morning, is currently lying at a private funeral parlour in Colombo.
The body will be taken to Arachikattua in Putlam tomorrow, and the final rites will be carried out next Sunday.
The late State Minister Sanat Nishantha, who was 48 years old at the time of his death, was a father of 4 children.
State Minister of Water Supply Sanat Nishantha and his personal security officer Police Constable J.A.A. Jayakodi passed away this morning in a fatal accident along the Colombo-Katunayaka Expressway. The late State Minister's driver is currently receiving treatment at the Ragama Hospital. The accident occurred at about 2 a.m. today at the 11th kilometer post along the Katunayaka Expressway. The jeep that Sanat Nishantha was travelling in had collided with a container that was driving along the same route. According to the police, after colliding with the container, the jeep had gone on to hit the protective railings along the expressway. At the time of the accident, the State Minister was seated in the front passenger seat of the vehicle, while his personal security officer was seated in the back seat. The massive damage caused to the jeep in the accident made it difficult for first responders to remove Sanat Nishantha from the vehicle. Sanat Nishantha, his personal security officer and the driver of the jeep were then admitted to the Ragama Hospital. However, Sanat Nishantha and his personal security officer had already succumbed to their injuries. Police suspect that the accident was a result of the driver falling asleep on the wheel. The driver of the container had been arrested and investigations into the cause of the accident are ongoing. State Minister Sanat Nishantha, who participated in the debate and vote held in Parliament, had then attended two weddings held in Kurunegala and Chilau. The accident occurred while he was on his way back to Colombo after attending those events. Upon being informed of the accident, family members and relatives of Sanat Nishantha and members of the Sri Lanka Pudujana Peramuna rushed to the Ragama hospital.
Sanat
Nishantha is a person who works day and night. He works day and night for the people. The constituents of his district love him very much. He is a man who worked for his constituents. He was a person who was loyal to the former president. He gave our party a lot of strength. I see him as a politician who had a backbone and a personality to present his opinion without any fear.
Honorable Minister
Sanat Nishantha was a man with a good heart. The image that some people have of him is quite different to the real Sanat Nishantha. He is a person who was close to the people. He was unreservedly committed to his political movement. He was a valuable political figure. If he created an issue with someone, that too was done to give the people of Puttlam something. Sanat Nishantha filled the void created by DM Dasanayaka in the Puttlam district. We are deeply saddened by this. Wattala Chief Magistrate Dhammika Uduvevitana conducted the magisterial inquest at the Ragama hospital this morning. The remains of the State Minister were later moved to a private funeral parlour in Colombo. Meanwhile, President Ranil Wickremesinghe visited the Colombo residence of late Sanat Nishantha and conveyed his sympathies to the family of the late State Minister. Leader of the Sri Lanka Pudujana Peramuna, Mahinda Rajapaksa, also visited the residence of Sanat Nishantha this morning. He is a minister who came forward and worked well in his district. I see his demise as a great loss for the party, the country and the entire nation. After being informed of the demise of Sanat Nishantha, many of his friends, relatives and supporters gathered at his residence in Arachikattua, Puttlam. Sanat Nishantha, who was born on the 3rd of May 1975, was a past pupil of the Chilau St. Mary Boys' School. He contested for the Arachikattua Pradeshia Sabha under the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and was elected into office. He then contested for the Northwestern Provincial Council election in 2004 and was elected to office. He held various provincial ministerial portfolios until he contested for the general election in 2015. He contested the general election in 2015 under the ticket of the United People's Freedom Alliance and entered parliament having secured the highest number of preferential votes in the Puttalam district. He contested for the general election again after President Gotabaya Rajapaksa took office as president and secured the highest number of votes in his district. He served in the cabinet of Gotabaya Rajapaksa in the capacity of State Minister of Fisheries. At the time of his death, he held the portfolio of State Minister of Water Supply. Police Constable J.A.A. Jayakodi, who also passed away in the accident that occurred this morning, was a resident of Galagedara. His remains are due to be brought to his residence tonight.
American Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chung warns that unclear and overtly restrictive laws will hinder the economic growth that Sri Lanka needs and may hinder investment and growth of the digital economy. She issued this warning by a statement on X about the online safety bill that was passed in Parliament yesterday.
The American ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, says that the amendments to the online safety bill does not include the important comments made by key stakeholders, including civil society and technology companies, and that it threatens the freedom of expression, innovation and privacy. The ambassador's message on X conveyed deep concerns by the United States. She further emphasized that such action may endanger democratic values. In her message, she went on to say that the United States of America requests Sri Lanka to give priority to transparency and to ensure that the voice of the people is not suppressed by the legislative instrument of the online safety bill.
Member of Parliament M.A. Sumanthiran says that 13 clauses mentioned in the Supreme Court judgment have not been included in the online safety bill that was passed yesterday. He said that he will be requesting the Speaker to not sign the passed bill until it's re-examined to determine whether the prescribed clauses are included according to the Supreme Court judgment. Now, Newsfirst inquired about this from MP Sumanthiran.
We found that there were several matters that the Supreme Court had required changes to were not incorporated in the list of amendments. So that's a very, very serious matter, because if it was carried without those amendments, there would have been a question as to whether that is law. However, we have another article in the Constitution, Article 80, Sub-Article 3, which says once the Speaker signs the bill into act, nobody can challenge the validity of that act. So there would have been very serious doubt as to whether this was indeed law or not. Once I raised the issue, that written document that I gave to the Speaker was conveyed to the Additional Solicitor General, who was in the officials box, and I also had to go into the box and meet with him, and then I was told that all of those were being incorporated. Now that is contrary to the practice, that before 12 noon all of the amendments that are being proposed must be tabled for every member. That had been violated. Nevertheless, they said they were incorporating them. We will meet the Speaker and urge him not to sign the bill into a law yet, until we sit down and compare the Supreme Court's determination along with the amendments that were passed yesterday. A law has to be certain, otherwise there cannot be rule of law. Rule of law must not discriminate between persons. When there is ambiguity, you can selectively apply the law to different people in different ways. Different activities can be said to be offences one day, not an offence another day. So this kind of doubt with regard to this law, it's an impractical law. When I appeared before the Supreme Court challenging this bill, we urged the Supreme Court to declare that the whole of the bill was impractical Supreme Court did not make that ruling. Nevertheless, my view is that it is an impractical law, and that will leave lots of doubts in people's mind, particularly at a time when we have an economic crisis. No investor is going to come into this country when the law is not certain. Today, transactions are done online, so this is a very, very relevant issue that they will consider. The government has taken this approach of bulldozing this bill to make it law because it's an election year, and they want to suppress the freedom of speech during an election year, and in that haste they have gone and done this, which is going to seriously impact on the economic recovery of this country.
Speaker Mahinda Yapa announced that the third reading of the online safety bill was passed without a division yesterday, against a backdrop where opposition MP Vijitha Herath of the Jatika Janabalawegaya said in Parliament that he is against the bill. Parliamentarian Vijitha Herath expressed these views on this situation at the Trincomalee District Conference of the All Ceylon General Fishermen's Federation that was held today.
When the bill was tabled in Parliament, the amendments to be made according to the recommendations given by the Supreme Court were not given to the parliamentarians. There was a one-day debate on the bill. When the vote was taken, it was about 6 in the evening. Towards the end, we continuously reiterated that the amendments were not made according to the determination of the Supreme Court. You saw that the Speaker did not allow us to object. Government parliamentarians interrupted us. MPs surrounded the area where parliamentarian Susil Premajayantha was reading the bill. They came towards the mace and attempted to cause a scene. In the middle of the chaos, they passed the bill. When the opposition continued to say that the amendments were made not in line with the amendments proposed by the Supreme Court, they did not listen to us. They didn't even allow us to explain what had happened. After the second reading, they passed it by majority vote. After the third reading, we shouted and said that we need to call for a vote on this. They did not allow for that to happen as well. They forcibly, arbitrarily used their power and passed this anti-people law in Parliament. Do you think that these leaders will give the people of this country freedom and democracy? They will not. Even in Parliament, they did not protect these rights.
SJB MP Rajitha Senaratne made the following remarks.
The Supreme Court held that 34 out of the 57 clauses of this bill are against the Constitution. They had to be amended accordingly. But some clauses were amended not according to the determination of the Supreme Court. There's a clause on fake social media accounts, and it says that such conduct are punishable with imprisonment of up to 3 years. This bill is drafted including the punishments. Secondly, the Supreme Court decided that orders against the middlemen on the internet must be given by the primary courts through filing the case in courts. But as per the act that was passed, orders will be given through the commissioners. The other thing is the contempt of court. Up until now, if the court was insulted, an appeal had to be filed at the appellate courts. According to this bill, action can be taken against such action by filing a case at the magistrates' courts. The most dangerous fact is that the commissioners are appointed to conduct investigations, and the president has the authority to dismiss such commissioners at any time. The president will be appointing them, and at the same time the president can dismiss them from their positions. Even amidst an ongoing investigation, the president can dismiss the commissioners from their positions. It is considered to be an obstruction to the investigation. The commissioners have to take action here by subjecting this solely to the president's authority.
The Movement for People's Council convened a media briefing to discuss the online safety bill today.
This bill was passed in the parliament going against the fundamental regulations of the judiciary and the recommendations made by the Supreme Court. I believe the parliament passed this bill in such a manner that it did not even follow the recommendations made by the Supreme Court. The parliament passed this act by violating and fragmenting the Supreme Court orders and brought it to suppress the people of this country. We are completely dismantling these base rogue laws. We cannot agree with these. This is the mandate of the people. No one can violate that.
Some rules and regulations included in this act cannot be passed with just the majority of the votes. If it is said that the independence of the judiciary must be respected in the name of democracy, it is the parliament who should actually be doing that. But they passed this bill disregarding the recommendations made by the Honourable Supreme Court and the criticisms of the opposition party. This leaves a question before the people as to if they should validate this law. In the future, we will be able to see the people answering this question themselves.
In the
year 2022, social media provided a big platform for the people's uprising that took place in 2022. It was within social media that the young men and women and all these people organized themselves and took to the streets. Ranil Wickremesinghe has come up with this kind of agenda to suppress these kinds of actions. Then any bill will easily be passed in the pig pen called Parliament. Every bill that was against the people was passed in the Parliament. In the recent past, the real opinion of the people is on the streets. We as the IUSF believe that these laws and anti-people repressive laws and Ranil Wickremesinghe's agenda will be crushed on the roads with the people.
Unknown assailants disrupted the silent protest held by several civil rights activists at the Liberty roundabout today. Now, some of those assailants who disrupted this protest had their faces covered with masks. Now, they were removed from that area with the intervention of police. The civil rights activists who staged the silent protest included former presidential candidate Dr. Ajanta Pereira.
अभी दूसरे समय डाली कर दे हाँ इधर रोबल लोग नहीं दिखते हाँ और मैं कल को काम है और लोग को नहीं दिला चल जाते हैं बोलिए लेकिन निकल लो सर मैं मैं शादी को बोलिए डाले मैं तो उद्घोषण करना मका जैसे मैं के तेरे में आगे और ना शादी को बात करने पाएंगे एक अभी बुलाया शादी को बात करने एक अभी बुलाया ना ओगल बंदे ना देखो लेकर तो ध्यान दे अरे अरे हम लोग क्यों हम शादी को बात करने पाएंगे अबे लेकर ना अबे लेकर ना
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
Reach beyond boundaries with Edlocate. Explore education across 6 destinations under one roof. Explore education across 6 destinations: England, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, Malaysia and Vietnam under one roof on 27 January from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Taj Samudra. Speak directly with university representatives. Scholarships available. Calling 077 177 0361.
838 suspects have been arrested within the past 24 hours in the Yukti operations carried out across the island. Now 549 suspects were arrested for drug offences.
289 suspects who are listed for crimes have also been arrested in the Yuktiya operation. The police said that they seized 16.6 kilograms of cannabis, 211 grams of heroin, 78 grams of ice and 1,192 pills amongst other drugs during the operation. 5 suspects in connection with drug offences are to be further investigated on summoning orders. The police said that 10 drug addicts were sent to be rehabilitated in a rehabilitation centre. 35 suspects who had open warrants for drug offences and 246 suspects who had open warrants for non-drug offences were also among the arrested people. A person who was in possession of 6 kilograms of cannabis has been arrested by the Virakatiya police during a search conducted near Bogamua Lake, Gajanayakagama, Virakatiya, in conjunction with the Yuktiya operation. The arrested individual was a 38-year-old resident of Gajanayakagama. A suspicious three-wheeler was parked at Kalani Nadi Lane Junction in Mulleriyawa, and the police officers who went on night patrol have investigated it. The police arrested 6 people at the location and found a blood-stained sword, 2 live bombs and 6 mobile phones.
The search operation is still ongoing for 13 inmates who escaped from the Kandakadua Rehabilitation Centre. The Commissioner General of Rehabilitation, retired Major General Darshana Hettiarachchi, says that around 75 inmates had escaped the centre.
A group of inmates had escaped from the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre at around 9:30 p.m. last night. The escape occurred after a clash between 2 groups in the camp. The Commissioner General of Rehabilitation said that 34 inmates were arrested during operations conducted by the Army, the Police Special Task Force and the police. Another group has also surrendered to the camp at the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre. The group of inmates who surrendered were then presented to the Polonnaruwa Magistrates Court and will be in remand until the 31st of next year. These are the views expressed by the inmates who escaped from the camp and later surrendered.
අපි කන්තකාඩුවට ආවේ දෙසැම්බර් 24 වෙනිදා. ගන්නකොට අපි කිසිම මද්ද්‍රව්‍ය පාවිච්චි කරලා නෙමෙයි ගන්න අපි ඇතුළට. කන්තකාඩුව ඇතුළේ ඉන්නවා දුමතරම් බුලත් විලක්වත් කන්නේ නැති මිනිස්සු. ඒ කියන්නේ ගෙදර නිදාගෙන ඉද්දී අරන් ආපු ඒ වගේ තමයි අපිට ඇතුළට ගෙනල්ලා අපි මාසයක් වෙනවා මේ පෞගේ 24 වෙනිදාට. එතකොට අපි පළවෙනි පන්තිය තමයි ඉගෙනුම ලබන්නේ. අපිට ඉහළ පන්ති වල ඒ කියන්නේ 5 6 කියන පන්ති වලින් අපිට ගහනවා. ඊට පස්සේ කන්න නැහැ බොන්න නැහැ. ඒ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න නිසා තමයි අපි වැල්ලන්නේ. යුක්තිය මෙහෙමෙන් තමයි අපි ගෙනන් දාන්නේ. ගෙදර නිදාගෙන හිටපු අය ගෙනල්ලා දානවා. යුක්තිය මෙහෙම ඕක තමයි කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ගාල්ලේ ඉමතිය පොලිසියත් ඔය වගේ. පොලිසිය ඔක්කොම ඔය වගේ. යුක්තිය ඉස්තර කරලා දෙන්න. අපිට සාධාරණයක් කර දෙන්න සර්. අපි නැත්තම් නොකර බන්ධනාගාරගත කරන්නේ. ආමිගේ පාලනයක් නෑ සර් ඒක. ආමිගේ එළියේ ඉන්නවා. එළියේ ඉන්නවා ආමිගේ සර්ලා ඕන තරම්. ඒක කඳුර ඇතුළට එන්නේ.
The inmates have run away from the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre on 6 occasions, and since last December to now, inmates have run away on 2 occasions. 358 inmates are currently staying at the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre. Retired Major General Darshana Hettiarachchi, Commissioner General of Rehabilitation, said that about 100 of them were arrested during Operation Yuktiya and sent to rehabilitation.
Today marks Duruthu Full Moon Poya Day. The significance of Duruthu Full Moon Poya Day is that it marks Gautama Buddha's first visit to Sri Lanka.
It was on a day like today, 9 months after enlightenment, that Gautama Buddha set foot on Sri Lanka for the first time to solve a confrontation between the Yaksha and Naga tribes. Devotees visited the Mahiyangane Raja Mahaviharaya this morning. Many devotees also visited the temple of the sacred tooth relic in Kandy to pay homage. Our correspondent said that the Polonnaruwa Galviharaya temple was also overflowing with devotees. The Sirasa Namami Poya Day broadcast was centered around Anuradhapura. The Sirasa Damsara sermon was delivered by Venerable Professor Thumbulle Silakandathera. The Vihara Asana program focused on discussing an array of historic facts and events. The Sannasa discussion was also held on Duruthu Full Moon Poya Day today. The Turunusita Poya Day discussion was held at the premises of the Jayashri Mahabodhiya. The Sathpiyuma program was also broadcast from the same premises. The Ape Pansala program was telecast this evening. The Podisadugeng Ahanna program, where pious children get an opportunity to speak with novice monks, was also held today. Religious observances organized by the Capital Maharaja Group at the Shakya Malakya opposite the head office premises was held this afternoon. Newsfirst sponsors this program on the first Poya Day of every year. The Gum at the Gum Savia Poya Day program was held today at the Elamaldenia Viharaya in Pitabadara Mathura. The program was held under the guidance of the chief incumbent of the temple, Venerable Gumbadala Lanka Thera. Many other programs were also conducted, centering around the Elamaldenia Raja Mahaviharaya constructed by King Saddatissa. Venerable Valihene Atulathera and Venerable Talapalakande Chandimathera participated in the Damsavia Poya Day discussion that was held today.
The Durutu Perahera of the Kalaniya Rajamahaviharaya paraded the streets of Colombo last night. This time the relic casket was carried by Tusker Kandula of the Kalaniya Rajamahaviharaya. The Perahera was held under the auspices of the chief incumbent Venerable Professor Kollupitiya Mahinda Sangarakita Thero.
Explore education across 6 destinations: England, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, Malaysia and Vietnam under one roof on 27 January from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Taj Samudra. Speak directly with university representatives. Scholarships available. Calling 077 177 0361.
Welcome back to the news. The Galle Literary Festival 2024, a celebration of arts which brings together acclaimed authors, poets and intellectuals from around the world, kicked off today at the Galle Fort. Newsfirst, TV1 and Yes FM are the official broadcasting partners of the event.
The Galle Literary Festival enables a vibrant exchange of ideas, readings, discussions and workshops, fostering a dynamic literary community. Founded in 2005, the festival is a much-loved event for book lovers and enthusiasts of all ages. Several workshops and discussions were conducted with world-famous authors.
I was simply saying, I suppose Hoppers, we have to give quite a lot of credit to Hoppers.
Set in 19th century Mathura, actually, and it definitely he leans forward, and though there is an undeniable...
The inaugural day of the Galle Literary Festival 2024 saw a large crowd of visitors of all ages. The Galle Literary Festival 2024 will be held from the 25th to the 28th of January 2024.
In some interesting sports news, Chamari Athapattu, captain of the Sri Lankan women's national cricket team, won the ICC Women's ODI Cricketer of the Year 2023.
The International Cricket Council named the ICC Women's ODI Cricketer of the Year 2023, considering the performances displayed by the players in ODIs last year. During 2023, Chamari Athapattu scored 415 runs in 8 ODI matches. She scored 2 unbeaten centuries in the series against New Zealand. She also scored the 4th fastest century by any cricketer in women's ODI history.
The ICC has selected me as the captain of both the ICC ODI Team of the Year and the ICC T20 Team of the Year. They have also nominated me for the ICC Women's Cricketer of the Year 2023. I am very happy about it because I worked hard to get to where I am today. I would like to thank Sri Lanka Cricket, the coaches in my team, my teammates and my parents who supported me throughout this journey. Since the day I started to play cricket, I had a dream to win an ICC award, and this year I have received several ICC awards. I hope to play very well during this year and to bring many victories to Sri Lanka.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.